All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Kakwadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to us younger brothers. And peace and blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect out there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds. In the name of Yahweh Bashem Al Shai, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful elect, the believers, the listeners, whom have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashem Al Shai. All right, and what I want to get into today, is Yahweh Shai, being numbered amongst the transgressors. Okay, and what this means for us. Okay, and understanding, all right, that we're going to be numbered amongst the transgressors. All right. And we see the stage is being set for that now. And that's part of the cup that we have to drink. Okay. Which Yahweh Shai told us about. Okay. And going into these times, you can't expect it to be fair. All right. This is the devil we dealing with. Okay. We know he's going to lie. All right. He's going to reach. He's going to use propaganda. Okay, he's going to use psyops on the masses, to get us to be looked at in a certain way. All right. And our own people will be at the forefront, okay, of helping this devil accuse the brethren. Okay. So these things, like Yahweh Shah would always say, marvel not at this, marvel not at that. So we've been given, all right, the rundown, okay, of how it's going to go down. All right, and we know the devil. We shouldn't expect nothing less, all right, from the devil, but to lie about every goddamn thing. Okay, and for the masses of the people, all right, the simple, as the scriptures say, to believe every word. All right, so let's start off here in Isaiah 53 and 12. It says, "Therefore will I divide him a portion with the great," and this is Yahweh Shai. All right, that's gonna get the biggest portion of the inheritance from the Most High. Okay, so Yahweh Shai's, what he did on the cross when he said it is finished, well, that was pleasing to the Heavenly Father. Okay, and Yahweh Shai received everything. Okay, and then it says what? So as Yahweh Shai has received everything, when he comes back, it says, therefore will I divide him a portion with the great, and he shall divide the spoil with the strong. Okay, with the strong, which is the elect, beginning with the first fruits. So before, we're able to partake and be joint heirs, well, guess what? We have to be tested. Okay, to be that strong. All right, and this scripture to be a part of that number of the strong, those that overcome, that endure. Okay, we have to be tested. We have to go through the hour of temptation. We have to go through the tribulation. Okay, and not lose the faith. We have to be, numbered amongst the transgressors. We have to be hated. Okay, lied upon. Okay, you see, lose everything on this side. We have to show ourselves worthy. Okay, and this is what's happening. This is what this devil, he's gearing up to do this now. Okay, and it says, because he had poured out his soul into death, speaking of Yahweh Shai, he was numbered with the transgressors, and he bare the sin of many and made the intercession for the transgressors. Okay, so he was numbered with the transgressors, or you go into transgressors, because we all, okay, will be considered transgressors according to our law, before we came into the truth, when we didn't have any, covering, because transgression means, go beyond, we was all going beyond the bounds of the law. Okay, but then you have the aspect of transgressors are just criminals. Okay, I'm going to show you that Yahweh Shai was numbered amongst the criminals. We're going to be numbered amongst the criminals. Okay, because you go into this word, the transgressors. All right, in the Hebrew is pashai. All right, which is what? To rebel, to transgress, to revolt. All right, and our people that haven't repented. and came back under Yahushua, they're still in their rebellion. Okay? And what we seeing now, all right, is the Lord, is putting the spirit on Esau, all right, to get ready to judge 2/3, okay, which are the rebels. You see, those that are still against Yahweh Bashim Shai, okay, and what this devil, what he's going to do, okay, he wants to number us amongst it, okay, so he can look justified, and get rid of the prophet, because right now, there's already a pimp rally for him to deal with the niggas that these criminals that he has created, and niggas, all right, need to be judged, okay, but we can never, all right, you know, leave out, okay, we can never leave out Esau's involvement in creating niggas, man, and the nigga woman, okay, they created the atmosphere for these monsters, okay, to thrive and multiply, you see, but his thing, his agenda is ultimately the prophets, okay, to remove this word, because this is the most, all right, this is the most resistance in the earth against what this devil is trying to do, this word going forth, you see. So let's go here. Now when you go to the New Testament, let's get this in the book of Luke, when Yahweh Shah fulfills, being numbered, again, with the transgressors, okay. So you go into the book of Luke chapter 23 and verse 30, 32. And it says, and there were also two other malefactors, all right, led with him to be put to death. Okay. So you go in verse 33, 32 in the NLT, it said two other, both criminals were led out to be executed with him. Okay. So Yahweh Shah was numbered amongst criminals, man. Actual criminals. Okay. Esau, he wants to number the prophets amongst, all right, criminals, the people that he's deemed criminals, because that's why there's a big push, okay, to make Jake the problem of the earth. Okay. And Jake is a problem. But what you're going to see Esau do is exaggerate it. Okay. And what he wants to do ultimately is number us and lump us all together in that category. Okay. So when you read verse 33, it says, when they were come to the place which is called Calvary, there they crucified him, and the malefactors, one on the right hand and the other on the left. Okay. So that was the whole agenda dealing with, the wicked, Sadducees and high priests. They wanted Yahweh Shai, all right, crucified as a rebel because he was against their wickedness. You see? All right. So we're going to see Jake, because you go here, all right, Jake was at the forefront of that. We're going to go into where the malefactor is. Just go into that word. St. John 18. And let's go here. All right, St. John 18 and 28. So this is because first, he was interrogated by Caiaphas, okay, the high priest. And then Caiaphas brought him to Pilate. Okay. St. John 18:28 says, then they led Yahushua from Caiaphas, all right, unto the hall of judgment, and it was early, and they themselves went not into the judgment hall, lest they should be defiled, but they might eat the Passover. So these niggas were so wicked. Here it is. They had conspired to put, an innocent man to death. Okay, but then they didn't want to go into, all right, the judgment hall of the Roman governor, because it's full of idolatry. Okay, but they didn't want to go to the judgment hall of the Roman governor. So because they said they would be defiled and couldn't keep the Passover. Here it is. They're finna be guilty of the blood. Okay, of the murder of Yahushua. But then they're talking about they don't want to be defiled so they can keep the Passover. Hypocrites, man. Okay, extremely hypocritical, man. All right, and best believe niggas that gonna be at the forefront of accusing the brothers, man. Okay, sellouts and etc., man. It says Pilate then went out unto them and said, "What accusation bring ye against this man?" They answered and said unto him, "If he were not a malefactor, we would have not delivered him unto thee." All right, him up unto thee. So they didn't go into the charges. They said, "Look, he's a malefactor. He's a criminal." And they didn't have any charges. Okay, but they wanted him to be numbered with the malefactor, with the criminal, because you go into this word malefactor. All right, it says the meaning of malefactor. It says the word malefactor comes from Latin roots. Mal, all right, bad or evil. All right, facer, okay, to do or to make. So malefactor literally means an evildoer, criminal, or one who does wrong. Okay, and this is what the high priests, the Sadducees, wicked Pharisees, this is what they was accusing Yahushua of being an evildoer. Crucifying with the criminals. You see? And it says the Israelite leaders brought Yahushua before Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor. Pilate asked them, "What accusation bring you against this man?" They replied, "If he were not a malefactor, a criminal, evildoer, we would have not delivered him unto thee." In other words, they were accusing Yahushua of being a criminal or wrongdoer, though they didn't specify any real charge. Okay, and this is why, we can only be blameless before the Most High, because we're not gonna get a fair shake in this system, in this world. Okay, we shouldn't even look for it. All right, they just gonna flat out lie. Okay, and we're gonna be numbered, put in that category with the transgressors. That's why you go here to the book of Peter. It's about being blameless before the Most High. They're gonna lie. They're gonna use AI. They're gonna have us saying things, doing things that we didn't do. Okay, and say plenty of propaganda. Okay, but the Lord knows. You see, Esau doesn't have the last say so. So let's go here. All right. Yep, this is 1 Peter 2:21. It says, "For even here," all right. Matter of fact, before we get that, we end with that. Let's get this Revelation 12 and 10. It says, and this is after the war in heaven. It says, "I heard a loud voice saying," all right, and this is Yahushua after he makes war. All right, he comes into this realm, okay, to make war with these devils and these heathen militaries of the earth. It says, "And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now is come salvation and strength and the kingdom of our power and the power of his anointed. For the accuser," okay, "the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our power day and night." And we always get this word accuser, okay, in the Greek, okay, which all right, categoros.
Strong's G 2725. Categoras. Categoras.
Categoras.
Thayer's Lexicon, related entry. Categor. Categor.
Categor. So the English word category comes out of this word. Now, when you go into, okay, category, all right, category says a class or division of people or things regarding as having particular shared characteristics. Okay, so this devil, he's going to put us in the same class with the worst of our people. Okay, he's going to present us to the world, all right, and even worse. You see, the devil, how his laws are set up. If he can put you in a category, okay, where certain rights don't apply to you, you know, if he can call you a domestic T, all right, a domestic Teist, okay, an extremist or radical, if he can put you in that category, well, guess what? You don't have rights, okay, because you're such a threat to the people. You don't have rights, okay. So he can put you in a certain class, a classification, okay, and now you don't have any rights, and he can have his way with you, man. That's how the devil's laws work. If he can label you this, well, you don't have rights and laws. You can get dealt with harshly because you are in this category. Okay, and this is what the devil is doing. This is, it's on the books. He has this legislation, these things in place, to do these things, man. All right, and we know there's gonna be the lot, for some brothers, man. Okay, and we all have to have our mind geared of this possibility, man. Okay, to be snatched up, brought before, all right, you different, government officials, and you know, let's go here. But this is the mindset we have to have going into it. Apostle Peter, all right, went into it beautifully. This is 1 Peter 2:21. It says, "For even here too, where you call, because Yahweh Shai also suffered for us, leaving us an example that ye shall follow his steps." Leaving us an example that you shall follow his steps. So Yahweh Shai, all right, was our blueprint. Going back to the author and finisher of our faith, he was a pioneer of how we should act in the clutch. Okay, he wasn't trying to justify himself to Pilate. He understood that, look, it's not going to be fair. Yahweh Shai understood Isaiah 53:12. He understood that this was all fulfillment of prophecy, man. Okay, and these things had to play out. So when we in these positions, we know, okay, this is prophecy, man. Okay, it must play out. These people are not gonna be fair. Okay, verse 22, it says, "Who did no sin, neither was guile, all right, found in his mouth, or deception." He talked, and then he told the high priest, like, "Look, I teach every day. Y'all know what I teach. Okay, ain't no deception, ain't no, you know exactly what we believe in." Okay, all this content that brothers have, we haven't hid anything. No guile. We ain't up here deceiving the people, scamming the people. Okay, you see, there's the edification. Okay, verse 23 says, "Who, all right, who when he was reviled not again. When he suffered, he threatened not, but committed himself to him that judgeth righteously." Okay, which is the Heavenly Father. So we just gotta trust the Lord is going to intervene in these situations that we're going to be in coming soon. Okay, you read this in the NLT. It says, "He did not retaliate when he was insulted, no threatened revenge when he suffered." Yeah, so uh, we don't have to try to be, our own lawyer. Okay, or try to convince, okay, the world, that we're innocent. The Lord's he's gonna prove we're innocent, man. Okay? through deliverance, through a standard being lifted. The Lord's going to prove we're innocent with power. Okay? We had nothing to prove to these people, man. We've taught daily. Okay? The content is out. What we believe is out there. We have nothing to prove to these people, man. Okay, he says he left his case in the hands of the Most High, who always judges fairly, man. The Lord has the last say so in every situation, man. And he's going to judge fairly. We got to trust that. We got to believe that, you know. So, Lord, will you, brothers, all right, and you sisters, edify once again. I want to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Kakadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great example to his younger brothers, and peace and blessings say to the hopeful Shalom.